We hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of the board is final. In respect, it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. However, if you disagree with our decision, you do have course in the court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. Final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Safford? Ms. Safford?
Present.
Mr. Alessio?
Here.
Mr. McCauley? I believe he's absent. Mr. Nachtrieb? Callers, if you can mute your microphones, please. Mr. Nachtrieb?
Say here.
Board Member Nachtrieb, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, but you keep cutting in and out, but I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Riggs? Mr. Riggs, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. And Chairman Hennessy?
Here.
We have four.
Do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum. We have four present. I'm sorry, we have 6 total in attendance. 5 total in attendance, sorry about that. 1 absent. So we do have a quorum, thank you. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Chair, is the approval of the February 20th, 2020 Zoning Board of Appeals minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion was made by Board Member Alessio and seconded by Board Member Nachtrieb. I'll call the roll. Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley's absent. Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
And Chair Hennessy?
Aye.
Motion
For the
passes.
record, could the people on the board, before they speak or answer questions from any of the petitioners, identify yourself by name?
The next item, Mr. Chair, on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This is a new temporary procedure for public speaking, and the details can be found on the Joliet.gov meeting agendas, minutes, and videos webpage. And in-person speaking is temporarily suspended. So this section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items that are listed on the agenda, except for those items that are listed under public hearings. And I believe today we have everything listed as a public hearing, so this does not apply. But I just want to note that for the record, we did cover that section of the agenda. The next item is old business requiring public hearing. We have no items. Following that, we have old business, no public hearing. There are no items. And that moves us to item 7 on the agenda, which is new business requiring a public hearing. And the first matter is petition number 2020-13, which is a series of variations to allow reconstruction of a single-family house located at 319 South Joliet Street. Before I read the petition, can I make sure that we have the petitioner on the line?
We do.
Thank you. This is petition 2020-13 at 319 South Joliet Street. And I will summarize the staff report. The applicant is requesting a series of variations to allow reconstruction of a single-family house located at 319 South Joliet Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision for this request. Requested variations from the Zoning Board of Appeals include a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 30 feet to 20 feet 11 inches, a variation to reduce the side yard setback from 6 feet to 5 feet 5 inches, a variation to reduce the side yard setback from 9 feet to 6 feet 8 inches, and a variation to reduce the sum of the side yard setbacks from 15 feet to 12.17 feet. The original circa 1898 house at this location suffered catastrophic fire damage, and the building was substantially demolished. All that remains is the foundation, which the owner wishes to utilize in their reconstruction efforts. The owner of the property requires approval of the requested variances in order to proceed with their reconstruction project, because the legal non-conforming house that existed at this location was destroyed beyond its fair cash value. Section 47-17.22, paragraph 7, which references restoring legal non-conforming buildings and structures, states that when a legal non-conforming building or structure, or a building or structure containing a legal non-conforming use, has been damaged or altered by any cause whatsoever to the extent of its fair cash value, as such term is used in the Revenue Act of 1939, or has by ordinance been declared a public nuisance, it shall not be restored, reconstructed, or in any way used except in conformity with the regulations applicable to the district in which it is located. So that brings us to site-specific information. The property is zoned R-2, single-family residential. I believe we have slides as well for television. The property is zoned R-2. The property in question is 6,970 square feet in size with 46.5 feet of frontage. The lot, like most lots in the neighborhood, is non-conforming to the yard and lot requirements of the R2 single-family residential zoning district. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character. The surrounding parcels are all zoned R-2 single-family residential, and the neighborhood consists of 1 to 1.5 story single-family homes. Most of the lots in this neighborhood are non-conforming parcels in the R2 single-family residential zoning district. Applicable regulations are as noted in the report. Under discussion, the property owners seek these variances in order to reconstruct a house on top of the existing foundation. The foundation of the previous circa 1898 house does not conform to the setbacks of the R2 zoning district. The one-story house will be 1,290 square feet in size and will have 3 bedrooms. The proposed site plan, elevations, and floor plans were included with this petition. A 20-foot by 25-foot asphalt parking area at the rear of the lot will be provided. Access to the parking area will be along a shared paved driveway. The property will be subject to the city's landscaping requirements for a single-family home. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve these variances, the following conditions shall be included. 1, that a paved driveway shall be installed and maintained. 2, that the property shall comply with the city's landscape requirements for a single-family house, which can be found in section 47-15E, paragraph 3 of the zoning ordinance. That concludes staff's report.
Petitioner present.
Mr.
Mr.
Rojas?
Rojas?
Rojas? Would you like to add anything,
Yes, I'm
Mr.?
the president, yes.
Would you like to add anything, Mr. Rojas? Do you have any comments?
No, for a moment.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition?
Or on the phone call?
No one's present? Very well. Motion would be in order.
Is there anyone on the call? Has anyone called in on the bridge?
All the board members are here.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
As there is no one in opposition, motion to approve has been made and seconded. Poll the board.
Bear with me one moment. Ms. Safford? Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley's absent. Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Chair Hennessy?
Aye.
That motion passes. And just for the record, can you tell me who motioned and seconded?
Yes, Chairman, or Board Member Riggs made the motion, and I was second. I
Okay,
seconded.
thank you.
Callers, could you please either mute your background? We're picking up a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't really understand. Did you have me a question, or did you make a statement?
No, just a general announcement for everyone on the call. If you could mute your microphone unless you are speaking, it would cut down on the background noise. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. And just for the record,
Okay,
again,
then it was.
I just want to make an announcement for the record that anyone who wished to call in would have signed up, and we have not received anyone calling in regarding any of these matters. We have not. Okay. So I'll move on to the next
So
petition.
we don't have to do opposed and for?
I would still open the public hearing for each case, but for right now, as far as I know, there is no one on the
No one
line.
online? Okay,
No
thank
one's
you.
called in on the bridge. Okay, so we are at petition number 2020-14 and 1988-01. This is kind of a combined staff report. The applicant in this matter is Juan Ultreras, and the owner of the property is Miguel Garcia. Is Mr. Ultreras on the telephone?
Yes,
Okay, thank you, sir.
yes.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to summarize the staff report, and then we'll ask you if you have any comments to add. This petition is 2020-14, a variation of use to allow the addition of one residential unit, total of 3 units, in an R4 multifamily district, which is a multifamily use, in an R3 1 and 2 family zoning district. In addition, the applicant is requesting that the city repeal the 1988 variation of use that allowed an appliance repair business with retail sales, which is a B3 use, in an R3 1 and 2 family residential zoning district. The City Council makes the final decision for these requests. Under site-specific information, the property is located at the corner of North Eastern Avenue and East Liberty Street. The property is 66 feet by 132 feet for a total size of 8,712 square feet. The property is zoned R-3 1 and 2 family residential. The property includes 3 structures. The first structure is a 2-story frame building at 562 through 564 Northeastern Avenue. The second structure is a 576 square foot 1-story house located at 306 Liberty Street. And the third structure is a 2-bay garage. The city approved a variation in 1988 to allow 2 main structures on 1 lot. This petition was filed on March 11th of 2020. The structure at 562 through 564 Northeastern Avenue is a 2-story frame building with approximately 828 square feet of leasable space on each floor. The ground floor historically has had a commercial use. It was a grocery store until 1958. After a long period of vacancy, it became an appliance store in 1981, which was an illegal, non-conforming use at the time. In 1988, the city granted a variation of use under Ordinance 8606 to allow the continuation of this appliance store at this location. The second floor of this building has always been a residential unit. Within the last 2 decades, a portion of the building at 562 through 564 Northeastern Avenue was taken down. The appliance store business closed in the mid-2010s. Section 47-17.22 nonconformities, subsection 3 nonconforming structures of the zoning ordinance allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in a way that increases their nonconformity. So that is the purpose of today's request, that this is an increase in a nonconformity. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character are as follows. To the north is R3, 1 and 2 family residential. That's a single family home. To the south is R2. That's also a single family residential zone. That's a vacant lot. To the east is R3, a 1 and 2 family residence. And there are 2 single family homes on 1 lot to the east. And to the west is R2 zoning, which is single family residential, and that's a parking lot for a restaurant. Applicable regulations are as noted in the staff report. Under discussion, the petitioner, who is the contractor for the property owner, seeks the variation of use to allow the addition of one residential unit for a total of 3 units at the property in order to turn the 828 square foot main floor unit at 562 through 564 Northeastern into leasable residential space. The property is currently zoned R3, which would allow a maximum of 2 residential units, and the previously granted variation of use only allows an appliance store on the main floor unit. Therefore, the petitioner believes that the repeal of the 1988 variation of use, followed by the issuance of a new variation of use to allow the conversion of the main floor into a residential unit, would be the best option for this unit given the market conditions of the area and the overall economy. The new property owner has been working through the Division of Neighborhood Services and the Building Department to rehabilitate the structures and property. The owner has a memorandum of understanding with the Neighborhood Services and has been issued building permits to complete this work. Before and after photos of the property are included with this staff report. Subject to the agreed-upon work being completed, Neighborhood Services has no concerns with the property becoming a 3-unit. As a 3-unit property, this property will be subject to the rental inspection program. The zoning ordinance requires 5 off-street parking spaces for 3 housing units. The property has sufficient off-street parking for 5 cars, which meets the zoning requirements. Planning staff approved the owner's paving plan as part of the building permits that were submitted to the city in the fall of 2019 for the rehabilitation of this property. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to recommend approval of this request to repeal the existing variation of use granted in 1988, that was for the appliance store, and also to grant a new variation of use to allow the addition of 1 residential unit, total of 3 units, in an R3 1 and 2 family district, then the following conditions would be included. 1, that a minimum of 5 off-street parking spaces shall be created prior to the issuance of a certificate of inspection. 2, that the asphalt parking area and all internal sidewalks on the property shall be maintained. 3, that the use of the property shall not be expanded in the future. 4, that separate water service external shutoff valve and meter shall be established and/or maintained at a minimum for each building prior to the issuance of a certificate of completion. 5, the property owner shall participate in the Joliet Landlord Tenant Screening Program. 6, the property owner shall comply with the city's rental inspection program. And 7, should the property be declared a public nuisance by the city council, the variation of use is automatically revoked. And that concludes staff's report.
Do you want to handle these 2 separately?
I think they should probably be voted on separately.
Separate?
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably go with the, if you want to do the repeal first, and then the new variation of use request.
We have to swear the petitioner in.
Yeah, so you can do
Mr.
that.
Ulteris, I must swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any comments you'd like to make? Is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your petition?
No, I mean, everything that you guys said is agreed, and everything should be conformed to the city.
Okay, we have no opposition to this petition. Let's hear a vote on petition 2014.
He wants us to take the other one. He wants us to take 1988-01 first.
What?
He wants us to take 1988-01 first.
Okay. Change that to petition 1988-01. We'll hear that one first.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Nope.
This is Bob.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the petition. Poll the board, please.
Ms. Safford,
Aye.
Mr. Alessio,
Aye.
Mr. McCauley's absent, Mr. Nachtrieb,
Aye.
Mr. Riggs,
Aye.
and Chair Hennessy.
Aye. Thank you. Petition
Motion to
2014.
approve Petition number 2020-14.
Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
approve.
Second.
I second. Chair, this is Bob.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Please poll the board.
Ms. Safford,
Aye.
Mr. Alessio,
Aye.
Mr. McCauley is absent, Mr. Nachtrieb,
Aye.
Mr. Riggs,
Aye.
Chair Hennessy.
Aye.
That motion passes. That brings us to petition number 2020-16. Is the petitioner for petition number 2020-16 present on the line? Okay, Mr. Let's see. I should just make a note for the minutes. The item D, petition 2020-15, that was for a variation of use at 324 Pleasant Street. That petition has actually been withdrawn, and that appears on your agenda as such. So the next petition is 2020-16. This is a special use permit to allow a tire repair and service facility located at 1301 Route 59. And I believe Mr. Steve Enright, representing the petitioner, is on the line. Mr. Enright, are you on the line?
It's actually Christopher Enright, architect,
I'm sorry.
on behalf of the petitioner.
Okay, sorry, Christopher Enright, I apologize. So I will summarize the staff report, and then if you want to add any comments, we'll move there into that direction.
Thank you.
Bear with me as I open the report. So again, applicant is Chris Enright of Christopher Enright Architects. The owner of the property is Zerkes Limited Properties 2, 1301 Route 59. The request is for a special use permit to allow the construction of a tire repair facility on one of the vacant Walmart shopping center outlots. As per the applicable zoning code, section 47.13.2A, paragraph G, special uses in the B3 General Business District, automobile establishments for minor repair may be allowed as special uses by the mayor and city council with the advice of the Zoning Board of Appeals in accordance with section 47-5.2. Under site-specific information, the property was annexed, zoned to I-1 light industrial, and approved with an annexation agreement in August 1989. An amendment to the annexation agreement was approved in August 1991. It was reclassified to B3 General Business in 2003 as part of the Walmart subdivision that created 11 lots on 40 acres. A re-subdivision of the Lot 10 of the Walmart subdivision is proceeding through the Plan Commission concurrently with this special use permit request in order to accommodate the Bell Tire proposal. And there is an attached plat in your packet for the Bell Tire subdivision. Access to the site will be achieved through the existing curb cuts on Route 59 and Theodore Street. This application was submitted on March 13th. Surrounding zoning and land use, to the north is commercial B3, to the south is commercial, that's a Village of Shorewood B4 Automotive Service District classification. To the east is residential, zoned R2, and to the west is commercial, zoned B3. Applicable regulations are as noted in the staff report. Under discussion, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit in order to construct a new Bell Tire facility along the Route 59 corridor. Bell Tire installs tires and parts related to tires and wheels, as well as doing other minor automotive work, repair work. The new 10,000 square foot building will be constructed with brick veneer, and there are elevations included. It will be located on site so that 10 bay doors will face north toward the Friaco's Mexican Restaurant building. In addition to the proposed site layout, the distance from adjacent residential units, and that's the Hampton Glen townhomes, is approximately 450 feet away, which more than meets the 100-foot spacing requirement established in the zoning ordinance. According to the petitioner, the business generates very low traffic volume. The business operation closes by 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and is closed entirely on Sundays. Deliveries are limited to once or twice weekly and last approximately 30 minutes. The proposal for 60 off-street parking spaces and 10 service bays are adequate and meets the parking regulations for this type of use. Landscaping will be installed around the perimeter of the lot, and that will comply with the city's landscape ordinance for further buffering. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve this special use permit, the following conditions would be included. 1, that a landscaping plan shall be submitted and approved that meets the requirements of the city's landscape ordinance. 2, that the special use permit granted shall herein terminate and lapse unless a building permit or certificate of occupancy is obtained not later than 180 days after the effective date of the ordinance, or the erection or alteration of the building is started within such period. I won't read the rest of condition 2, that will be noted for the record, but that is a standard condition. And condition 3 would read that should the property be declared a public nuisance, it shall be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the special use. That concludes staff's report.
Mr. Enright, I must swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under
Yeah.
penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you. Any comments you'd like to make, sir?
Just one minor correction in the presentation, that the store is open till 8 p.m. only 2 days a week. That will be on Monday and Thursday. It closes at 6 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it closes at 5 on Saturday, and it is closed on Sunday. Just wanted to reiterate that this project is similar to the project that was already approved on Jefferson in Joliet in front of the Menards. And in fact, the distance from this, our proposed project on Route 59 is almost identical to the distance to the residential that was approved in Jefferson in front of the Menards. We have no issues with the conditions, and we respectfully request to be granted special use. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
Yes, I do. This is Bob Noctree. Chris, it's possible this is more of a planning department concern than a zoning issue. I was curious about the number of parking spaces. It seems excessive for a business that claims to generate very low traffic volume. Is there any reason why you wish to have that many parking spaces?
Well, the site is conducive for those spaces. We don't typically have that many spaces in a number of our projects. Usually we're less than that. It's just that the size of the property was such that it could accommodate that, and it just would prevent any traffic issues if there was a need for additional parking for employees and whatnot. So we always use it, or we can always get it if we can use it.
Okay. I was just thinking that maybe more landscaping along Route 59 would be good, but this is not a killer issue. It's more of a question.
Actually, we would not be opposed to that. There's a few spaces that we could, dispose with. I'm not sure if it pushes the building back. We'd be more amenable to maybe have a couple of those spaces as islands in between the parking spaces instead of moving, having more landscaping and pushing the building back from Route 59.
Yeah.
Staff would be amenable. Staff would actually, this is Mike Schwartz speaking, staff would be amenable to the suggestion that there be another landscape island or so to break up maybe each of the fields of parking on the 3 sides of the building. And that's something staff could work with the applicant. Staff could work with the applicant on that before it proceeds to the city council unless
Are you going to make that a condition?
I will defer to the zoning board. We're comfortable with the plan as presented, but we would be amenable if the petitioner representative was amenable to doing that. The zoning board may want to make that a condition.
Bob, do you want that to be a condition?
No, I don't think so. I think it's, if we leave it up to them, they've designed a nice building and they make nice designs and nice layouts, and so I think we can leave it to them to do what is best. Thank you, though.
Thank you. As there is no one here in opposition,
This is Chris. I'll go on the record indicating that we will add the landscape islands at our discretion working with the planning department. I have no issue making that a condition. But, well, you've got my word, we'll do it with planning. With the planning department, we'll add the landscape islands.
all right, thank you.
If need be.
Perfect.
A motion would be in order.
Did you want to?
I would so move.
I don't believe there's any speakers on the phone, so go ahead.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve by Board Member Nachtrieb, seconded by Mr. Riggs. I'll call the roll. Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley is absent. Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
And Chair Hennessy.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. The next item on our agenda is petition 2020-17, a variation of use to allow reconstruction of a commercial garage in a residential zoning district and a series of variations located at 707 Algonquin Street. Is the petitioner on the line?
We do have a
Mr. Is John or Lisa Lawson on the line?
Yes, this is Tim McGrath. I'm the attorney for Mr. and Mrs. Lawson. They are here present in my office.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGrath. Just want to make sure before we get started.
Thank you.
Okay, this is petition number 2020-17, John and Lisa Lawson, Chicago Title and Trust Company, trust number HTJ8002, dated 8/3/01. That is the owner. Location is 707 Algonquin Street. The request is for a variation of use and a series of variations to allow reconstruction of a commercial garage that is 50 feet by 96 feet in a B1 neighborhood business use in a R2 single-family residential zoning district, and variations for the following. 1, to increase the maximum allowable size of an accessory structure to exceed the footprint of the existing house from 4,800 square feet to 2,223 square feet, to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 30 feet. 3, to increase the maximum allowable garage height from 20 feet to 25 feet 4 inches. And 4, to increase the maximum allowable garage wall height from 10 feet to 17 feet. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final recommendation on the variation of use to the City Council, or makes a recommendation, and the final decision for the variation requests. So part of this petition will go on to the City Council. The variation request would stop with the Zoning Board of Appeals. Under site-specific information, the 160-foot by 130-foot or 20,800 square foot piece of property was annexed and zoned R-2 single-family residential district in March 2000. A 2-story house and detached garage were approved for construction in April of 2000. The garage was recently damaged due to a fire that started from within the structure. The garage has since been demolished in its entirety. And I believe there are photos of the site throughout the presentation that both provided by staff as well as the petitioner. The variation of use and the variations are needed to reconstruct the garage. This case was filed on March 13th. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character. To the north is zoned residential. That's unincorporated Will County R-5 single-family residential. To the south is residential. That's also unincorporated Will County R-5 single-family residential. To the east is residential in Joliet, R2 in Joliet, single-family, as well as an unincorporated Will County R-5 residential zoning lot. To the west is commercial garages, and that is zoned R2 single-family, and that has a variation of use. Applicable regulations are as noted in the staff report. And as noted, a variation of use is defined to mean a relief from strict compliance with the use limitations of the zoning ordinance. regarding the zoning classification, regulation, and restriction of the location where trades, industries, businesses, and residences may exist. Under discussion, the petitioner is requesting approval of a variation of use and a series of variations in order to reconstruct a commercial garage that was recently destroyed in a fire. See attached plat of survey and garage plans in your packet. The previous garage was utilized for storage of the owner's racing cars and equipment associated with his racing career. As per the petitioner, the new garage will be utilized for the storage of antique vehicles, snow plowing trucks, and equipment. The new garage will be constructed with brick wainscot and siding to match the material on the house. The garage cannot be converted into a separate dwelling space, commercial use, or office space. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the variation of use and series of variations, the following conditions would be included. 1, the garage must be constructed with similar material and colors to complement the existing house. And 2, the garage cannot be utilized for a separate dwelling space, commercial use, or office space. And that concludes staff's report.
Okay, Mr. McGrath, I must swear you in and anyone else who's going to speak. Would you please raise your right hands? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes. All right, my name is Tim McGrath, attorney for the Lawsons. We read over the conditions. The first condition, the only issue we have is that we're asking that the similar material will put vinyl and brick on the front of the building, which faces the street. We're requesting that the rest of the building be able to be gray tin. Because if you look at the building, it's a large building, and the other three sides of the building cannot be seen by the street. To do similar material for the whole building would be a $39,000 upgrade. They have no problem in putting vinyl and brick on the front to match their house. That is not an issue. And number 2, we have no issue with that condition that the garage cannot be utilized for a separate dwelling space, commercial use, or office space. This is strictly going to be used for his own personal use. He's going to reconstruct the garage the same way that it was before. And if you look to the pictures in the neighborhood, there's actually 2 tin buildings, I think to the south, and then there's 2 vinyl ones to the west and north. It really, the use kind of fits in with what's already in the neighborhood. The Lawsons are fixtures in that neighborhood. They've owned their auto repair business, auto refinishing business since 1985. They own numerous properties in that neighborhood. They're good neighbors, and they're asking that this be approved.
Thank you. Any questions by the board?
Is someone asking something?
No.
Is there any further
All right,
discussion?
this is Bob Noctree.
Go ahead, Bob.
Excuse me? Okay, I have questions. First question is for city staff. The staff report says that the property was annexed, as you said, Mike, in March of 2000 as an R2, and that the house and the original garage, which were roughly the same size as this one that's proposed, were approved for construction in April 2000, a month later. Did that approval include some version of the variation now requested for it to be an industrial building?
There was never a formal variation requested. A permit was issued for the building that did burn down. The records that we found were issued by the building division at that time, many, many years ago.
So that building existed before the property was annexed to Joliet as R2, is that the situation?
No, I believe that the permit for the building was built in Joliet, and Mr. Lawson may have better recollection on that than I do.
Oh, so when did you build? You got a permit for the building? Yeah, he got a permit from the building from the city of Joliet in 2000.
Okay, so the question is, do you know whether any sort of variation was granted at that point for an industrial garage in an R2 neighborhood?
The factual answer to that, Mr. Nachtrieb, is no. There was no formal variation granted for the permit.
Any further
I
questions?
see. Okay.
Are there any other comments by the board? If not, a motion would be
I
in
guess
order.
I have one more, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Bob.
Ed, may I have one more comment, please? This is, I guess, another question mostly for planning. I'd like to know whether the zoning board is expected merely to extend the variation, which apparently was not given in April 2000 without judgment. In other words, we let it go, or to revisit the criteria for which such a variation, as though it's something new in the area. Because if we have to look at the criteria for a variation that are in the ordinance, I think it's going to be very difficult to approve it. And if we could just approve what was, in place before, and just approve that, that's one thing. But if we have to judge whether it has adequate criteria, I'm afraid it would be difficult.
Okay, thank you.
The criteria show up on page 3 of the staff memo.
Yeah, and that criteria is part of all of our petitions. It's in the zoning ordinance. It's standard language. But to kind of answer your question or address your comment, you are correct. You have the zoning board has in its discretion may consider this a vacant piece of land. Essentially, there is no grandfathering status of what was there before. What was there before did not have a formal approval. And so it's entirely up to the zoning board to decide if, as a new clean slate, if you will, that the proposed building, which is identical basically to what was there previously before the fire, if there's a reasonable expectation to go ahead and approve that as it was before.
Yeah, we're dealing with what's before the board today only, and the board has full authority to grant it if it wishes.
Does the board have the ability to ignore the criteria on page 3 of the packet?
It's actually irrelevant. This is a new petition.
Well, okay, if it's irrelevant, then let's go to vote.
I just have a comment on the property. Driving through the area, I had similar reservations to Mr. Nachtrieb prior to visiting the actual physical location. After driving through the neighborhood in multiple directions, the proposed building, in my opinion, would fit within the neighborhood characteristics. So I motion to approve.
Thank you. The motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
There was a motion on the floor made by board member Alessio. Is there a second?
Second to approve, Jim Root.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition 2020-17. Poll the board.
Was somebody trying to make a comment?
Riggs.
What about the issue of the siding? Does that have to be amended, the condition?
That's a good point. Is there any, do you want to amend your motion to
Include the
include
request.
the petitioner's legal counsel's request?
That was
That there
was
be-
staff's recommendation. If it's up to the staff if they want to allow it.
Staff's condition was basically a little more general, that the garage must be constructed with similar material and colors to complement the existing house. Material and colors meaning, and we did not get specific on which facades. I believe, and I'm kind of looking to my boss here, that the suggestion that maybe not the entire, we'd have to discuss that, I believe. I think staff would be comfortable for sure having that on the front facade. I am not familiar with the back side of that building and who that faces. It is a residential neighborhood. I believe there are other houses on the other side of the garage.
Well, the question boils down, do you want to do it your way or do you want to do it the way the petitioner requested it? If you have no objection, then we can just go ahead and vote.
Yeah, I would say my suggestion would be to keep the condition the way it is. And it's up to the zoning board if you want to amend condition number 1 to make him only allow it.
Since it's
I'd have to go back to the person that made the original motion and ask if they're willing to amend it.
Before I consider amending it, I'd like to ask staff a quick question. You were mentioning that perhaps the condition itself is ambiguous enough where something as the petitioner is suggesting might fit within our code. Do you see that as that condition maybe possibly falling within the realm of what the petitioner is requesting? Or do you think that it needs the condition? Or do we not have a...
I prefer to probably stay with the general condition. We can try to work with the petitioner prior to this moving on. To this, it does need approval from the city council for the variation of use.
So we are moving on the original motion as stated.
It's a $39,000 upgrade, and that's huge when those 3 sides aren't seen by the street. We have no problem with the front. The other buildings, both buildings are tin neighborhood.
Well, again, it's a large building, and metal is typically more of a light industrial type material. It's quite a range of variations that are being requested to allow a building of this size in a residential area. Again, I'm gonna trust the planner that worked on this particular case, and that this is more of a general condition, that there be similar material and colors to complement the existing house. Maybe there's a compromise where we could sit down and take a look at the backside having some material as well, depending on if there are other residences that face it. I'm looking at a photo in the PowerPoint right now that one side of the garage is abutting another garage property. That's probably not a big deal to have metal on that elevation, and also on the elevation facing their own house. But on the back side, I think we'd want to just take a look at the back side as well. Mr. Legal Counsel.
The backside faces an alley and another industrial garage. There's nobody back there.
No, I don't have anything.
Well, let's move on to petition. What are we going to do? Chair is in a position that the original motion should stay as it was stated, and it was seconded. If there's no objections, I should say pull the board.
Ms. Safford.
Aye.
Mr. Alessio.
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb.
Aye.
Mr. Riggs.
Aye.
And Chair Hennessy.
Aye.
This motion passes, and this matter will move on to the city council concerning the variation of use request. And city staff will be in follow-up conversations with the petitioners and legal counsel on possibly working on materials, questions and concerns before this matter moves on.
Thank you.
What date is the meeting, or do you know that yet?
We don't have that yet, but we'll be in touch. We'll follow up with you. We'll be in touch to specify the date.
Okay, I didn't know, that's why I'm asking now. But
Okay.
You're gonna let me know, right?
Correct.
All right, okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next matter on the agenda is petition number 2020-18. Applicant is Joseph Diaz, also the owner of the property. Location is 423 Cleveland Avenue. This is a request for a series of variations to allow the addition of a second floor on an existing single-family house. The applicant is requesting a series of variations to allow the addition of a second floor on an existing single-family house at 423 Cleveland Avenue. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision in this matter. Requested variations from the Zoning Board of Appeals include 1, a variation to reduce the west side yard setback from 12 feet to 0.79 feet. 2, a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 30 feet to 15.26 feet. 3, a variation to reduce the sum of the side yard setbacks from 20 feet to 9.34 feet. Section 47-17.22, nonconformities. Subsection 3, nonconforming structures of the zoning ordinance allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in any way that increases their nonconformity. Essentially, this is a nonconforming built house that would be expanded as a nonconformity because they're going vertical with a second floor. Under site-specific information, the property in question is 3,960 square feet in size, and the lot measures 30 feet wide and 132 feet deep. The circa 1890 house on the property is a one-story in height and has 640 square feet of living space. The property includes a shared asphalt driveway with the property to the east. A plat of survey of the property can be found as an attachment. Surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the majority of homes in this neighborhood are single-family homes that are 1 or 1.5 stories in height. The surrounding parcels are zoned R-2, single-family residential, with the exception of the land to the south, which is zoned I-2, general industrial, and that consists of a railroad right-of-way. Applicable regulations are as noted in the report. Under discussion, the applicant desires to erect a second-story addition over the entirety of the existing 640 square foot single-story house, which sits on a very narrow 30-foot wide lot. The existing house is 0.79 feet from the west property line and 15.26 feet from the front property line, which do not meet the building setback requirements in the R2 single-family zoning district. The zoning ordinance allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in a way that increases their nonconformity. Therefore, the applicant must obtain these variations because the structure's pre-existing nonconformities will in fact be increased by the construction of the second floor addition. The floor plan for the proposed second floor, as well as the existing first floor, were included with this petition. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve these variation requests to allow the addition of a second floor on an existing single-family house, the following conditions should be included. 1, that a building permit shall be obtained prior to construction, and that concludes staff's report. Is the applicant on the line? Mr. Diaz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
Let's swear him in.
Okay.
Mr. Diaz, I must swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
No, pretty much that was it. I just want a second floor on the small house for my son.
Any questions by the board?
Any objectors?
If there is no objections filed,
We have no one on the line for pro or con. There are no other callers on the line.
there's no other callers on the line. Okay, a motion would be in order.
I'll make the motion
To what?
to approve, sorry.
Can we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board, please.
Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Chair Hennessy?
Why not? Aye.
That motion passes.
Mr. Secretary?
The next item on the agenda is new business not requiring a public hearing. There are no items. And then the last section is public comments. This is a new procedure for comments, anyone wishing to speak for a maximum of 4 minutes. These are regarding non-agenda items. I believe there are no people, no callers on the line for this last item. So we would move on to adjournment unless there are any comments or questions from the board.
Is there any questions or comments by the board? If not, a motion to close would be in order.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn this wonderful meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Safford?
Aye.
Mr. Alessio?
Aye.
Mr. Nachtrieb?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
And Chair Hennessy.
Aye. Thank you, one and all.